Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
Dyer's Band.
Good evening, one and all. Welcome back to the CSL. It is a holiday week, so it's a short week. This is the only Dota 2 night we've got going on. Thursday is canceled in favor of Turkey. However, tonight is not. Game 2 about to kick off between UBC and looks like McMaster's University, a new kid on the scene. Excited to see what they bring to the stage. My name's Toffees. You can find me at Toffees TV. And I'm joined, as always, on Tuesday and Thursday nights by my partner in crime, Gorgon the Wonder Cow. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing really well. It's nice to have you back on a regular. Man, it's been a few years, and I love all of our casters here at CSL. I love Llama, I love Chaz, but we just have this special bond. It fills my heart with warmth after all these years together.
If you guys have been following us, we've been together since SIVO, almost 2.5 years ago now, and we're super excited to be here with CSL, bringing you guys the action. Now, before we talk about the draft and all the stuff that's going on, I do want to touch on a few things. First, a big shout out to Band Gaming, the primary social app of CSL, as well as Twitch. We really thank them for making this possible, so do check out those two sponsors. And, of course, we've got some big teams here. One of the big things, Gorgon, is UBC Esports. The team that is banding right now are last year's champions. I mean, that's a pretty big order for a team that's joined the league 4 games ago.
Yeah, I mean, and for people who are coming into the season new or fresh that didn't really follow last season or didn't catch the finals last season, bear in mind that we had one of the teams, the University of Michigan team, now has players that are doing really well, getting to the upper reaches of the major open qualifiers. You have Banana Slam Jamma's team also going against UBC, right? And that is a semi-professional player playing with his team, and UBC managed to take them all out. This is not a slouch team. Also, in case he ends up watching this VOD, I've got a little apology for their captain, Ko. Apparently, all last year through the finals, I was calling him Cow. I felt a kinship, and I wanted to bring us closer together. But he has pushed me away. So.
Part of that was because UBC was, in a large part, underdogs going into that final last year. And we really felt like Cow, the captain, or Ko, if you want to call it, was just really milking his team for the best performance he could get, hence the nickname that we gave to him. Now, that said, the guys they're up against tonight, McMaster is no slouch. They're new to the tournament. However, they've already had giant wins over Ryerson and Waterloo. Those are teams that you may remember last year we watched go all the way into the playoff tournament. So these guys are not... It's traditional, Gorgon, when we see a new team join the CSL, that they kind of go through growing pains, right? They have a year or so of some brutal adjustment period where a lot of them think, maybe I'm not ready for Division 1. These guys came in gangbusters with guns blazing.
Yeah, and you can tell already that they're picking very popular heroes, right? They grabbed Sand King and Warlock, 2 of the more popular heroes, both in the professional level but also in upper-level pubs. They seem to be grabbing things that they're going to be comfortable playing, things that maybe their opponents are going to be more comfortable playing against as well. But remember, the number one rule for drafting in this specific league is getting something that your team is going to be very effective at running.
And now, why is that? Why is it so important in this league versus the pro leagues to get a comfortable hero instead of sort of the OP hero of the hour?
So the skill gap at a professional level is very, very small, right? The difference between the best professional top-tier offlaner in the world and the 4th best professional top-tier offlaner in the world is a mistake, a misclick or 2 a game. It is minimal. But here, we're literally talking 3,000 MMR swings between players sometimes, both on your team and on your opponent's team. There are vast differences, which means that every mistake can really add up, and communication is much more difficult because players in different brackets see the game very differently. What's valuable, what is intentional, all of those things are more difficult to ascertain when you're looking at a wide landscape of player skill.
Absolutely. Now, if you look at the draft coming out of McMaster so far, we did talk about being comfortable, but they also are really embracing sort of what we've seen over the last few months, coming out of multiple tournaments. The Warlock, everybody says sort of Warlock's the thing right now. You know, somebody nerfed those damn chains. I think I heard Peter or PPD talking about how Shadow Word is the strongest early game nuke or something like that. It does the most actual damage within the first 4 levels of any hero. On the outside, Sand King, who used to be a support, is now a really solid core. But with the Disruptor, do they have that late game? Does this draft so far tell me these guys are going for it early and fast?
It really is going to end up depending on what they pick up for their carry, right? So for UBC, we can see a very combat-oriented, global ganking strategy forming out with Lifestealer, IO, presumably one more hero with a blink to come out here as well. Maybe an offlaner, that might be something like a Slardar. No, they themselves banned out Slardar, actually. But, you know, you want something that Faceless Void can jump into, then IO can link onto, and you have great initiation. Globally, that is 100% a mid-game oriented strategy. Lifestealer likes to get engaged with 2 items and start pushing down towers. Warlock does not go late particularly well, but he's not exactly a slouch either. Same for Sand King. He's not especially good as Epicenter starts to drop off and Caustic Finale starts to drop off, but he's not helpless in the late game. If you picked up a very strong late game carry like a Spectre, you could go that route. However, if you wanted to try and match UBC for that mid-game territory, it would be risky in its own right, but you could pick something up here that might work out fairly well in that vein. Maybe something like a Slark would do okay.
UBC grabs the Juggernaut. They've got the Lifestealer. They've got the IO relocate. Right now, with the exception of maybe IO, and even that's, you know, he's pretty survivable because of his mobility. This team that UBC's drafted looks incredibly hard to kill. Warlock has a ton of burst damage. Sand King and Disruptor mean we've got a great wombo combo, right? Huge initiation, tons of lockdown, but in that, we've got a couple of heroes who say, I don't really care, right? We've got 2 forms of magic resist already on the table.
Okay. There's the anti-mage. There's that late game carry.
So when you see that you've put a lot of what do you want to call it? A lot of effort into this initiation with magic damage, and then Lifestealer and Juggernaut come out. How do you react to that? Is there an option, or you just sort of say, well, the Wombo's going to be a lot tougher to engage on?
You mean for UBC, like playing against UBC's lineup?
Yes.
Yeah, so UBC's lineup has a couple of really obvious shortcomings here. One of them is that they don't have any quick damage, right? Barring a very lucky multicast and late enough levels that Fire Blast is actually leveled up. There's no way to really just kill a hero, which means that their opponents, McMaster, are going to feel much more comfortable picking lighter heroes that have high damage output. Heroes like Warlock, heroes like maybe something along the lines of a Queen of Pain, right? Like these are heroes, or Alina. These are heroes that you don't normally see picked up at competitive levels of play right now, but partially because there's enough nuke damage going around that they're extremely vulnerable. But there's nothing to speak of there. Also, you're looking for heroes that kite really well, because both Lifestealer and Juggernaut are a little susceptible to that, especially Lifestealer. One of the reasons, again, why Queen of Pain came to mind. Now, I don't know that that's necessarily the best pick here, but you want to be able to control the pace of a fight by controlling distance between Lifestealer and the mid-core, so that mid-core is able to move around. Ideally, that's going to be someone that can lane against an IO Juggernaut, because this is presumably going to be a dual lane mid with Juggernaut sitting there.
Right.
So you want somebody who has range, and you want somebody that has burst, and you want somebody who either builds a blink or has a built-in blink. Maybe a Templar Assassin could be picked up here as well,
The
That's a
survivability would be
possibility.
nice. Well, and I've heard rumors. I don't know if it's true. We haven't seen McMasters play very much yet. That their mid position player is one of the, I want to say, weaker players on the team, but maybe more rookie or a little less senior in terms of Dota. So could be exploited potentially by UBC if they've picked up on that.
Yeah.
So if you're running a matchup against UBC, which you know has a pretty strong mid laner, how do you deal with that? You see a potential 2-hero mid against one of your weaker players. Does it mean hard rotations? Does that mean maybe shift things away and try to get your own 2-person mid? Is there an option there?
Well, right now it looks like their mid is going to be their Warlock. Well, no, I lied. It's a possibility.
5 seconds.
Yeah, it's really difficult because if they do end up putting the Warlock in the support position, they don't have any good rotators, any good roamers in terms of protection. It is going to be the TA. I think that's a good pick here. Obviously, I do. It's one of the ones that I pointed out, but she needs to be able to survive on her own.
God, it's so hard to kill. So hard to kill these guys.
Timbersaw's an interesting pick into a disruptor and an anti-mage. He's got really deep mana pools that when they start to go low, anti-mage can just use him as a bomb against his own team. Disruptor obviously has the glimpse that is really difficult to deal with if you're a Timbersaw. He does a Lifestealer bomb exceedingly well. He does do a pretty good job chasing heroes that blink, like Anti-Mage and potentially eventually TA and Sand King. But he needs to be played very well here because there are a couple of counters that could make his life pretty difficult.
And we'll find out shortly enough. UBC playing survivability. McMaster's playing really a little wombo combo and an awful lot of farm. It looks like a 4 buy space for one sort of game we're going to see, and even maybe an aggressive try. That said, let's jump over to the in-game screen, guys. It's going to be a pretty good one as we get set for this matchup between McMaster and UBC, the defending champions, University of British Columbia. With that, let's do a quick introduction of these two teams. For the Radiant side, the defending champs, we're going to have Ko playing on the IO. We're going to have Kui playing on the Lifestealer. We're going to have KCY on the Juggernaut. We're going to have Rice on the Ogre Magi. And last but certainly not least, hashtag Cold Hands. We playing on that Timbersaw.
All right. And for our Dire side, we've got Ive on the Sand King. Plankton is on the Warlock. I Don't Need Love is on that Templar Assassin. Apples to Pine Apples is on the Disruptor. And Jendal Kenner is blinking around on the Anti-Mage.
That's the lineups as we get this thing underway. Immediately, we see a bit of a smoke rotation coming out from UBC. Interested in getting a little bit of action early on. Goes up through the high side. Opts not to throw a ward down as they rotate past the pull camp. There it is. They're going to go for the high ground ward. And now they're going to drift in behind what they know is going to be the rune pack. 13 seconds left. They'll get there just about the time the team exposes themselves. And look at this. They smell it. They say, I haven't seen anybody yet. Maybe we should get away. And they fall back towards the tower. Very smart play here coming out from McMaster.
Yeah, they are going to give up both runes, which is a little bit less than ideal.
Cold
But if
Hands,
you're not
though-
going to be able to...
Okay,
Nice.
sorry. I thought Sand King was going to go and make a move to at least drop him incredibly low before this thing started.
Yeah, well, the Sand King couldn't have really done much there anyway unless he leveled Burrow Strike. And even then, he probably wouldn't have been able to close the gap. But remember, especially in a one-on-one matchup, which is... he would have sniffed this out by now that this is a one-on-one. You're definitely going to want that Caustic Finale instead of the Burrow Strike, just so that you can zone the Timbersaw out. That magical damage ignores reactive armor, which is a big part of what makes Timbersaw a one-on-one master, right?
Right. Makes sense. So that's the lineup on the bottom. In the mid, it's going to go 1-for-1. Actually, it looks like the guys from McMaster have planned on 2. They actually brought Disruptor down there just in case the IO was joining him, but they saw him on top and will immediately rotate back up there for a very violent, what looks to be 3-on-3 here in the top lane. So we'll keep the majority of the camera there as we see the laning phase, but Gorgon will help us keep an eye on the other ones because I think that we're going to see some really important farm, especially coming out of that bottom lane.
Yeah,
Ko with the
in
link
this-
up to Kui. Kui wants to move forward. They go on apples to pineapples. He's pretty low. They got the backup from Rice. Rice with the cooldown on the slow. Goes around the long side looking for the body block. Feels like first blood. Smells like first blood. Is first blood. And they go ahead and get that nice little kill on Disruptor. Plankton could be in some trouble. Rice's slow is off. He immediately throws it up. Kui on the chase. Ko doing a good job of making the follow. Can they close the deal? They do! Long distance shot from Ko to make it 2. And the UBC defending champions come out of the gate like a damn racehorse.
Yeah, that was a bit of a debacle there for their opponents. So the Warlock threw the heal out a bit late to try and save his Disruptor friend. And then he also body blocked that Disruptor into creeps for a little while. So not the best coordination between teams, which is really what we were talking about during the draft, right? That coordination and communication aspect is a big part of what makes the best CSL teams. It's not necessarily individual skill.
Now, the
Though
UBC
that
guys
certainly
did
helped.
mention tonight before the game started that they have a sub standing in with them. I believe that's Rice here on the Ogre Magi. So that may give Masterson a little bit of extra go-to, McMaster, I'm sorry, as they sort of play against a very big team. And this could be really meaningful for them to take down the win. It not only shows that they've come to play, but they've taken some of the best players in the league out. Last hit tonight chart up early. You're going to see it is a pretty strong matchup for Radiant right now. In the mid, KCY is doing pretty well despite not having a range
I want
attack.
to take a look up top because this
Ooh,
could
big.
go one way or another.
Nice play by Disruptor to lock everyone in. They turn back around on IV3. Oh, there's the stun. Moves in on him. The slow coming from Ko. Will it be enough? I don't think so. Ivy should get out of this one. Disruptor with the save. A little bit of a slow there, but the heal will make sure he stays alive.
Yeah, you're looking at some really, really dangerous laning decisions now coming out of McMaster, right? The anti-mage does not go up against the Timbersaw one-on-one nearly as well as Sand King does. And granted, the anti-mage needed to go somewhere where he could get farm. But now the Sand King also doesn't really go into this aggressive trialing particularly well unless everything is happening right next to the creeps. He's going to have to scale completely differently so he gets more Burrow Strike. He's going to have to lay off the Caustic Finale a little bit so that he can actually help control this lane. And the regen is starting to fall off a little bit or the consumables, rather, are starting to fall off a little bit for this lane already. So McMaster running into some trouble facing down what ended up being a much better aggressive dry lane than I expected.
Absolutely. So let's take a look at the mid lane matchup right now. KCY 24-2, and I don't need love. I'm the GOAT. Is it a 19-2? So it's actually a close-ish matchup, considering that KCY has been here for a while and knows what he's doing. So putting up a good fight there, the TA. That said, Ko and Kui up on top have to get out of some trouble. They got a little bit of a rotation cut out. I like the ward from Dire to try and get them some control of this lane. Cold Hands on the bottom. How's that matchup going right now? 19-4 versus 11-2 Animage. Who's slated to win this one?
But do bear in mind that the Animage had to rotate down here after that top lane didn't go well. I think he's doing a little bit better than I would have expected. The Timbersaw should come out ahead here, at least until the end.
They're moving on Plankton. Rice, there's the link up from Ko. Gets around, lots of damage. That'll be the death of Plankton. He gets dropped like a rock. Now they want to move in. He sees IO, likes the smell of it, but the link is kept up by Ko very nicely, and now Ivy's got to make a runaway. Can he close out? He's very low. They finish the job, and it's a double. Ko, a champion on this IO. I would be surprised if it's not banned in the next match.
Yeah,
now,
what a
Cold
great
Hands
play. He
on
got
the
that
run.
cell.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick on the bottom. They're trying to get him down, making a move. Reactive Armor putting in some serious work. He wants to turn around. 0 Fs given by Cold Hands here as he just sticks inside and takes the last hits. He's like, I don't even care, man.
I don't know why the Anti-Mage isn't going on this right now. This just kind of reeks of an experience to me, right? You can clearly see if you're that Anti-Mage that the Timbersaw has no mana. And he doesn't hit harder, right? He hits for 58, you hit for 60-something. And granted, he has more armor, but you're going to be doing damage with mana break.
Back to the top where IVVVV's got to run. He is not going to make it. Bye-bye, Gorgon says, as the Sand King goes back to his throne.
Yeah, this is...
Gold's already 4,000 for UBC.
Yeah, UBC opened this up really effectively. They got themselves into a very favorable position, and they have the sort of draft that will really compound this. As soon as the tier 1 top drops, which should happen fairly quickly,
They're
the
doing it
map
again.
becomes UBC is going to.
He thought he was safe. I mean, that Warlock was standing in Timbuktu, and the guys over here said we don't even need relocate. We're just going to go ahead and get these kills. So really great start on this top lane, and you know McMaster has to be worried about what's going on at the moment. Obviously,
Yeah. If they're not worried, they should be for sure. Like I said, as soon as this tower top drops, the entire map opens up for UBC, right? They have an IO. They have an IO who clearly knows what the hell he's doing, and look at where the IO and the Ogre are going right now. They're getting in for some very aggressive warding. Presumably, they're going to ward up very deep in the jungle here, and then rotate into the mid lane, potentially try to get it killed there. Not dropping the ward. Oh, there it is. Okay. So once again, there's not going to be a jungle to catch up on farm here pretty soon. The damage
TA.
over time out onto the TA, so their fraction's not going to be very effective. She's trying to wait for it to run out, but it won't work.
Spin to win. They bring in the TP. Warlock is here. Pineapple's now a little too close. In comes Ko. Nice link up. He's going to go down, but he's going to exchange 1-for-1. Plankton in some trouble. Omni Slash finishes his job. And they go 3 for an IO. They'll be happy with that. And, I mean, it's just been absolutely brutal. Warlock TP'd in without his ultimate, and there's just not much I felt like he could really... Like, it's one of those situations where you figure he would have canceled the TP once he saw that TA go down.
So, Shadow Word is really good at this stage in the game with traditional lanes, because it's very difficult to kill anybody under the influence of Shadow Word with short 3 heroes. You need at least 3, and it's not very often these days in professional meta that you're seeing extended 3v3 or 3v2 matchups. UBC read that out very, very well. So the Shadow Word not really that effective in one way, in that it is an extremely extended damage. Mid lane, we might actually see a return kill on. Never mind.
KCY saved the spin to the last second and just used it to get out of some trouble. So really nice play out of that Juggernaut mid, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So what I was trying to say with the Shadow Word is that the damage it does is really extended over a long period of time, so it's not great for these kind of engagements. Animage's going to drop bottom.
All right, so Animage went down bottom. Disruptor went down mid. KCY being chased. TA cannot find him. TP's coming out. Rice is going to go for the stun here. KCY not leaving, dodging, juking, moving, spinning.
Oh, no.
Got a little bit greedy there. Rice going to be on the chase, and here comes IO. So KCY could have got away with just soaking the XP and the gold and not going in for the last hit, but that's the KCY we know and love.
Yeah, it doesn't really hurt that much to drop there, though, because
Right.
although the gold lead is 7,500 net worth in favor of UBC, that one death is only worth about 500. And it doesn't get split up to a lot of people. It only goes to the TA.
Hui made a move on Plankton, started to drop him low, got kited, and Ko came from across the map just in time to give a max range link for the speed boost, and they'll make it a double as IV3 goes down. Ko will drop instead of relocating back home. No TP. They're looking for 1. Meanwhile, Disruptor was picked off. Hui in some trouble inside of the jungle. This would be a great kill for I Don't Need Love if he can make it happen. He's got Hui in a really tough position. No IO to rescue him, and that'll be a really big kill. A good pickup for him.
Yeah, that's worth a lot. And now that TA has solo killed the Juggernaut and the Life Stealer. That's a pretty substantial amount of gold suddenly going her way. She is climbing the rank. She's almost caught up to the Juggernaut in terms of net worth, barring that gold coming from the mid tower. Unfortunately, the rest of her team is taking bottom 4.
All right, and they did take that double tower just like you brought up. Gold lead is now at almost 10,000 for UBC. XP over 5K. If we look at some items as they've come out right now, all the boots are done on UBC. 1 pair has been finished on the side of McMaster, and I think that sort of sums up what we're seeing right now from this laning phase, 16-4. They're just having a really hard time getting things going. Now, when you look at that, oh, hold on a second. We're going after apples to pineapples. Came in, tried to lock him in place, wants to make the move. Ivy for the stun. Follows forward, misses the timber chain. That could be problematic. Cold Hands getting low. In comes Ko, kills him, and Cold Hands will get out. What a relocate. What a play. And they, it's just that's the fear of the IO. The guys from McMasters thought they had a chance to go ahead and get that.
Yeah, I would really love to just point to how well Ko has been playing. Like all the way back to that very nice escape up here where he used his salve and then managed to link to use the salve to heal somebody else while the chase continued. He's gotten himself 4 kills and 8 assists in only 11 minutes as an IO. He's about to get another kill on Plankton with this Ogre Magi.
They did bring in a lot of backup, though. Ivy on the chase, can go for the stun. Ogre Magi dropping pretty low. Cow with the link, gets caught by Kenner, and he's just going to go ahead and TP out. Gets locked and can't do it, man. He's still alive, but just barely. There's the blink, the finish, and they'll lose the double. Nice TPs by McMaster.
Yeah. UBC, meanwhile, though, look at this bottom tier 2. It's taking a lot of damage as Juggernaut and Lifestealer, by their powers combined, are going to be able to knock down most of a tier 2 tower for the exchange of 2 supports. Now, those 2 supports are worth a lot because of the way AoE gold mechanics work. That ends up being a 1,500 gold 2 kills. But 1,500 gold is slightly more than 10% the net worth bleed. It's not quite as much as it sounds like.
Hashtag math. KCY in some trouble, gonna get caught out, gets knocked down. Nice play by McMaster. And this is pretty clutch for them. Now Kui in a tough position. He's got pineapples and apples looking for him. Decides to try to get a kill out of it. Turns back around, runs into Goat. Goat puts in the work. Lots of stuns, lots of lockdown, and they just lost their 2 cores. Rice comes in, but just not in time. And UBC, is this a symptom of McMaster coming online or a symptom of UBC getting cocky? Well,
it's UBC getting cocky, right? They lost 2 supports diving in tower, and then they lost 2 carries pushing in tier 2 solo, even after their 2 supports had died. They are going to go in and get that TA, but that kill's worth... yeah. They might lose more, too.
Cold Hands, nice TP comes in. Plankton doesn't have the mana for his rock, but the rock is up. Goes forward, Cold Hands putting in some work. Nice chain, Plankton low. Can he finish the job? He can. Turns back around, gets apples and pineapples. Cocky or not, UBC says, we're going all out. We don't stop. And Cold Hands able to put in some work. Unfortunately, Warlock landed, but didn't have the mana to do anything with that rock, and I think that might have been a pretty big difference in that fight.
Yeah, they also didn't quite split up enough, right? The Timbersaw was able to really very effectively move between the 3 of them. They had some ranged heroes there, and they really needed to split them a little bit more. Either way, right now the item advantage isn't that substantial, despite the fact that you are talking about like a 10,000 net worth lead. The only item advantage really is Bloodstone Yasha. In favor of UBC. Now, that won't be the case for long, but this is a really good period of time for McMaster to... and we're going to have a disconnect here. This is a really good period of time where McMaster has the opportunity to take some kills, especially support kills, and pad out their item count with it, right? The TA, using this window, did manage to shoot all the way up to a Blink Dagger from nothing at all over the last, like, 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, so let's, while we have a pause, we'll take a look at sort of what's out there. Anti-Mage working on that Battle Fury. He's level 8 at 14 minutes and has a Perseverance, and that's about it. So a little bit of a rough start there, obviously. We've got a Ring of Aquila, and that's really about it for big-ticket items. Opposite, Yasha, Bracers for Lifestealer and Juggernaut, and then the Bloodstone. How many charges do we have on that already? None. So he just picked it up.
He just bought
12.
that, yeah.
Sorry. So he just bought it. 12 charges. Looking pretty good, but I mean that's great for him. 14 minutes, he's running that Bloodstone. I mean, does UBC have to throw this at this point, or does McMaster really have that comeback potential with their lineup?
If McMaster stalls long enough, they should be able to theoretically potentially come back, right? Because they have a fair number of late game counters to the Timbersaw. They have a better late game split pusher with Anti-Mage than either Juggernaut or Lifestealer. And TA is a pretty good high ground defender. That said, it would take some really spotless play to get there from where they are right now, barring some major mistakes from UBC. The easiest route, the most believable route to project would be UBC stays overconfident. They go in, Timbersaw loses a couple Bloodstone charge sets, because he feels like he has the Bloodstone, he's immortal, and ends up just going in too deep a few times, and that Bloodstone ends up being a worthless hunk of gold spent. From there, you could be looking at some serious trouble for UBC, but that's really what it looks like it'll take.
Well, UBC did show us when we watched that final run last year. They were pretty, I wouldn't say well known for, but we saw them make a lot of tough choices, but then exhibit the ability to sort of scale themselves back after giving up a couple of kills and say, okay, well, no, that wasn't what we're aiming for. Let's regroup. Let's work together. Let's not make those bad situations. And maybe it looks like we're starting to see that. UBC sticking together, being a lot more careful than they were a couple of minutes ago. So we'll see if that stays stagnant. Because if it does, I don't think McMaster really has a way back into this game if these guys continue to make good choices.
Yeah. They are getting ready to reload.
All right, so Goat's going to be the front man. KCY wants to go forward. Big rotation, in they go. Ulti's down from Disruptor, a lot of damage. Whoa! Sand King puts in the Wizark. Everybody goes down, drops the rock. Hui on the run, Cold Hands comes in with the chakram. He's going YOLO, baby. He jumps in deep, takes one, wants to follow Ivy, going all the way in to make it two. Wants Plankton, everything's been burned. Cold Hands does not care, and he goes three. He makes it 3 for 3 all by himself. Goat wants to finish Hui. Hui now chasing Goat. Here comes the Timber. He TP'd to the bottom. Now he comes after him from the tier 2. They're going to finish at 4. What a turn back around. McMaster looked like they were set. The Wombo combo hit. They had everything that they needed happening in that fight. And Cold Hands just said, not today, my friends. Not today.
Yeah, the TA there, I'm not entirely sure why she didn't just meld and accept the trade, the Life Stealer, for herself. That would have been a pretty decent trade, actually. All things said and done. Giving the Bloodstone charges to the Timbersaw is a big problem, but other than that, a 4 for 3 trade is fantastic for McMaster at this stage in the game, right? They're more than, well, now they're less than 10K net worth behind. They got about 1,000 overall net worth out of that one fight. So yeah, a little overzealous by UBC, but UBC will be able to take a tower out of it, and probably they put a little bit of the fear of God into McMaster. And remember, I'd said earlier this game that this tower was the pace setter. So well, now that tower's gone, it's hard to imagine where McMaster's going to get a response.
The initiation was strong. McMaster, when they got that, thought, much like I did, most likely, that they were going to do maybe a 1 for 3 or something in that ballpark and come away really ahead. And the fact that they ended up not in that situation has got to weigh heavy on them. Nice jump by Ko. Takes him behind the tower, but Apples to Pineapples actually sort of thinks it out ahead of time. That's not going to save him, as KCY will chase him down. It did, however, force the IO to his death, so a nice play by Disruptor to force a 1 for 1. That said, IV3 is on the run. He's got to try to get himself out of this. And no Blink Dagger yet coming out of UBC, so they will allow him to just slip into the woods and not chase him. Down on the bottom lane, they were pushing. KCY's got the ultimate. He's going to use it. Plankton gets melted down. May as well have been Baleen, for crying out loud.
Yeah, we haven't been getting a lot of utility out of this Warlock pick, unfortunately. Not necessarily because of the players, though. It does feel like he's a little... It almost feels like he's warming up. You know, some of his positioning's off, but it seems pretty clear from the way that he's usually positioned that he knows where he should be. He's just not quite hitting the marks. He's blocked a couple of his allies into death so far. He's been out a little bit too far. I'm really hoping that Plankton comes into game number 2 or even later this game with a little bit more cohesion and sense of awareness.
Now, speaking of sense of awareness, up on top, UBC's trying to force this push onto him. Down the bottom, Rice mixing it up with Animates, just scaring him off a little bit. Hui gets caught by IV3. IV3 pops the ultimate, goes for the chase, turns back around. It's not going to matter. Hui don't care. He turns right back in, says, IV, see you later. In comes the rock, but a second too late. Code's going to go down. The whole team is here. They get hit by... Oh, my God. The meltdown is real. The last man standing is the TA. She's going to spin in the air, and we'll watch as she drops down, goes to meld, comes back out for prayer, and it ends up as a foot team wipe, baby. I don't even know.
That's probably GG right there.
Yeah, that was brutal. Again, McMaster thought, this is a great opportunity for us, and the walls just came crashing down around them. It was a Samson moment.
Yeah, and that's the first time that was just a difficult to imagine or difficult to foresee turnaround. That time, though, the Sand King engages with Epicenter right next to a Life Stealer who has Rage, and solo Epicenter's Life Stealer while he has Rage. The Warlock then moves in and engages a little offset. Like the engagement really didn't look very promising at any point for McMaster. They need to be much more careful about which engagements they're deciding to take, because they're so far behind that they can literally lose a barracks any fight now.
16,000 gold behind, to be clear, and 12,000 XP. If we look at the hero level stack, Cold Hands is level 16 right now. Templar's 13, but the Anti-Mage is a whopping 11, and that just means it's going to be tough for him. He's lost the farm potential in his jungle. Radiant has tons of vision, and they'll go right up to the high ground with zero fear right now as Jendal desperately farms.
Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head there, right? The UBC can go onto the high ground whenever the hell they want because they know they're going to be playing 4v5. That Anti-Mage is worse than worthless right now. He just has no farm.
His Battle Fury came up at 18 minutes, and he's desperately trying to make it valuable. At what point? At 14 minutes, by the way, he only had the Perseverance. Are you pot committed? Do you have to go for Battle Fury at that point, or is it sometimes better to try and make a fighting Anti-Mage?
You know, because of his draft, if he went fighting Anti-Mage, they would have lost anyway.
Fair.
He needs to be able to go late, right? And which means he needs to be able to find avenues to farm. I don't think that this is necessarily the way to do it, but I don't know that there is necessarily a way to do it. This is just the best of bad options, right?
Gotcha. Sort of like, never, I was going to make a political joke. All right, so up to the high ground comes the Radiant. They crush the tower. They start to lay into the racks. Anti-Mage continues to push the bottom, but Radiant don't care. They're just going to keep wailing it down and happily trade a tier 2. And some kills now for the racks. Here comes Anti-Mage, not in time. Ivy dropping low. Kui on the chase. Plankton in some trouble. Kui and Cold Hands go around the back. That's a 1. That's a 2. That's a 3. Meanwhile, we look at TA. TA's trying desperately to get a kill as Ko runs away. Will go down, but at what cost? In comes Cold Hands, lays down the chakram, forces her out of meld, and that's a quad kill. Jendal Kenner shows up 2 minutes too late and has to give up his bottom push for absolutely nothing.
Yeah, geez, this honestly has been a clinic from UBC on how to execute an aggressive style game.
Kenner comes in, tries to get the kill, not going to happen.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it's
So the tri lane that they were running there honestly shouldn't even be that great of an aggressive tri lane because of a complete lack of control and burst, right? They basically just had a couple of slows that they could stack, but into a Warlock heal, that should have been pretty easy to control. A big part of the problem was the Anti-Mage pick gives them no laning damage whatsoever, and that ends up being a big problem if you're McMaster. But also, once again, I don't feel like we were necessarily feeling the value of that Warlock.
Timber got a haste rune. He wants to play. Kui gets pulled backward by the Disruptor. Immediately goes into rage. 1, 2, 3 shot. Death to Pineapple. Meanwhile, Cold Hands is back at the ranch getting a kill on the Disruptor. They were just annihilating everybody. Jendal Kenner is going to land in a pit of doom. And so it is. Cold Hands rocks him and drops him with that hook. Now they want to make the chase. Goes to the high ground. Ivy 3 turns back. I don't need love. Is not going to be able to do anything to save Ivy as he goes to the high ground. 16-0 he writes on the map just to let us know.
Yeah, that's crazy. 28 Bloodstone charges, now 17-0 and 6.
Did you write that, or did he write that as he was killing someone?
I wrote that. If it's white, I wrote it.
Okay, that would have been some next level shit. Cold Hands finishes the group. All 5 go down. And they thought they were just chasing Kui. And out of nowhere, anytime that McMaster gets split up, UBC makes them pay 1 by 1 by 1.
So you could drop the deficit of net worth plus 10,000 net worth into McMaster's hands, and it wouldn't make a difference.
What a manta. He says, I don't care about your ultimate disruptor. Manta's out of it. They infest Cold Hands, and he looks like he's going to get a little cheeky here. That's how confident they are in this game right now. He actually went up to the high ground, and now he says, all right. His buddies say, don't be that guy. Let's go back and get the tower.
Like I said, if you instantly dropped 3,500 net worth, which, by the way, the Dire only have 2,500 net worth, but you could instantly drop 3,500 into their coffers, let them distribute it however they want, and they would just narrowly maybe have a sliver of a hope. They're so far behind.
Well, it was a rough first match from the guys out of McMaster's, but It's not over. They have a second chance and possibly a third to take this all the way, guys. Don't go anywhere. This has been Toffees. You can find me at Toffees TV. My co-caster, my man on the side, is Gorgon the Wonder Cow. You can find him at the Wonder Cow. And don't forget to follow at C Star League for updates on all the future games, other games that we play, and what nights we are on. Big shout out to Band Gaming, our social app, as well as Twitch for making it possible. Don't go anywhere. Match 2 on the way.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made